He goes on to share, Daniel Levitin, a neurologist, noted, the emerging conclusion from the study was that 10,000 hours of practice is required to achieve a level of mastery associated with being a world-class expert in anything. He says, in study after study of composers, basketball players, fiction writers, ice skaters, concert pianists, chess players, the list goes on and on and on. You come back to this number again and again. It says no one has yet found a case in which a true world-class has achieved world-class expertise in less than 10,000 hours. It seems that it takes the brain that long to assimilate all that it needs to know to achieve true mastery. The question that begs to be asked, is prayer any different? Is prayer any different? We need to understand that prayer is a habit that needs to be cultivated. It's not just an exercise of something that we do. It becomes a habit that we cultivate. It is a discipline to be developed. It's a skill to be practiced. Now, don't misunderstand me. Prayer is not something that we do to say, okay, I've logged in 5 hours today or 10 hours this week of prayer. I'm that much closer to my 10,000 hours, and when I get 10,000 hours of prayer, I will be a master prayer. That's not what we're talking about, folks. But what I think we do find is the more we practice prayer, which the best definition I've ever heard of prayer is practicing the presence of God, bringing ourselves before the throne of grace, the more that we do it, the more it becomes ingrained in who we are. Now, I don't know if you're doing the 21-day prayer experiment or not. But the challenge was to set a time each day and to use the same time. Don't vary it around. And to be committed to go into a time of prayer, of reading our Bible, of just being in the presence of God. And not only talking to God, but listening. And I don't know about you, but I set a time earlier than normal because I wanted it to be something different. And when I first did it the first morning, I thought, what was I thinking when I did this? And now, I can't wait for the alarm clock to go off because it's my time with the Lord. And a time that has now been set that's out of the ordinary. And it's also set at a time when I know there really aren't going to be any other distractions, or they're very unlikely to come. And we move into that place where we want to be with God in a quiet time of prayer. And I'm sure that if we went around this sanctuary, we could get testimonies to that same effect. This morning we also heard in one of our other passages in the Matthew text that we need to ask, we need to seek, we need to knock. And again, sometimes the question begs to be asked, how long do I do that? Jesus is seeking to help us to understand that our walk with God is a walk of prayer. It's a life of intimate fellowship. It's one of the significant ways that the fellowship that we have with Him grows and grows and grows as we go deeper in that relationship and as we go deeper into our prayer life. It's interesting that in this passage that the words ask, seek, and knock that are used in this text are present imperatives in the Greek. Now, I know you're saying, what in the world does that mean? Well, this is what it means. It means that they are words that imply continuous action. They're not just something that you do once or twice or a half a dozen times or a dozen times. They're something that you do on and on and on and on. It has been suggested that this may suggest persistent effort, but more likely it's the recognition that we need to continually come to God. And we do that knowing and understanding that He has only our best in mind. And even though we might think we know what's best, we have to trust that He knows absolutely what's best. We need to ask ourselves, how willing are we to go the distance, to keep on keeping on until God answers, until God shows us the way? We need to understand that it could mean days, it could mean weeks, it could mean months, it could mean years, it could even mean a lifetime. And I'm a firm believer that there are even those prayers that we might not see answered on this side of eternity. It is in Matthew's text that Jesus tells them, and He tells us, that if earthly parents, if you read on in that passage, if earthly parents know how to meet the needs of their children, which does not mean that we always give them what they want, how much more does God know how to care for us? You see, my friends, the call is for us to pray hard and to pray through, never giving up, but rather asking in faith and praying with expectation for an answer. But remember, we need to be willing to accept the answer that God gives us, as well as when and how He gives it, knowing that His will is perfect, even when we cannot see it or understand it at the time. Now, this might be a crazy illustration, but one that popped into my mind is as I was going through the ordination process, and that was a long time ago, I was intrigued by the pieces that were a part of helping me with that journey. I also saw some pieces that I thought that could possibly be tweaked, and I thought that I would really like to be a part of that process and helping others in that. And I prayed hard that God would open doors up to let me be able to do that. I prayed on and off for 10 years. And there were times when I thought, why do I bother? This is just a lost cause. And about the time I was ready to just give it up, I got a call from my district superintendent at the time and said, I want to invite you to come on to the district committee of ordained ministry. Would you consider doing that? It didn't take me long to say, yes, I would love to do that. Several years after that, I got another call. Would you be willing to chair the district committee on ordained ministry? Different district, different time, but the same work. And I have to tell you, I wanted to say to God, I was just praying beyond the committee. I didn't ask to be the head of it. And God said, do it. I've been doing that for the last 5 years, and that has taken me on a journey that allows me to not only be with the district committee, but it has put me on the board of ordained ministry. I serve on the executive team of the board of ordained ministry. I serve as a lead for one of the interview teams of the board of ordained ministry, and have been a part of the candidacy summit that helps candidates go through their journey of call. And when I look back at that initial prayer and see where God has taken me, I would have never dreamed. And I still look at those possibilities humbly, saying, God, why did you give this opportunity to me? I believe with all my heart that God hears our prayers and He answers them in His way and in His time.
Amen.
Amen. Deb and I were married, and we wanted to start a family, and we got the word that it was a good possibility we would never have children.